Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare states $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into an exciting coin that could just change the way you look at your collection. We're talking about the United States Maryland quarter dollar from 2000. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another state quarter from the famous 50 state quarters program. But don't be fooled by its humble appearance. This coin could be worth a lot more than you think. Stick around because we're about to reveal the jaw-dropping value of this particular Maryland quarter and explore what makes it so special and rare. Now, let's take a closer look at why this coin is so sought after by collectors around the world. In 2000, the U.S. Mint released a series of state quarters to honor each of the 50 states. As part of this series, the Maryland quarter features a beautiful design. On the obverse, we have the traditional George Washington image, always iconic. But it's the reverse that stands out with a stunning representation of Maryland's natural beauty and history. The design features the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and an elegant blue crab, two things Maryland is famous for. The blue crab, a symbol of the state's coastal waters and thriving maritime industry, is a clear nod to Maryland's rich history and connection to the sea. Now, let's get into the real treasure here. While this coin was minted in large quantities, the true rarity lies in a very specific version of the Maryland quarter. You see, during the minting process, some of these quarters were struck with a mistake, a minting error that makes them incredibly valuable today. The most notable error that makes the Maryland quarter so special is what's known as a misplaced mint mark error. On these rare coins, the mint mark, which typically indicates where the coin was struck, is either missing entirely or placed in the wrong spot. This mistake might sound small, but for collectors, it's a huge deal. Coins with minting errors are highly sought after because they're unique. There's no other coin exactly like it, which is exactly what makes it a true rarity. These errors occur because the minting process involves multiple steps, including the striking of the design onto the coin's surface. Sometimes, due to an issue with the dies or machinery, things don't align perfectly, and that's where we get these mistakes. But as we all know, it's the mistakes that often lead to the most valuable and highly prized items in the world of collecting. And that's why coin lovers are on the lookout for these Maryland quarters with the misplaced mint mark. So, how much is this rare and error-filled coin worth? Well, you might be wondering if it's just a few bucks or a couple of dollars above face value. But the truth is, if you're lucky enough to own a 2000 Maryland quarter dollar with this particular error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Here's the big reveal. The price for one of these rare Maryland quarters with the mint mark error can fetch up to $54,000. Yes, you heard me correctly, $54,000. That's right, a single quarter could be worth more than a brand new car or even a down payment on a house. But how do you know if your Maryland quarter has this valuable error? Well, first, check the mint mark. If it's missing or misaligned, you've got a potential treasure on your hands. You'll want to inspect the coin carefully, look for any subtle differences in the mint mark's placement or absence. If you find anything unusual, make sure to get the coin authenticated by a professional before jumping to any conclusions. Of course, not every Maryland quarter will be worth this much. The condition of the coin plays a big role in determining its value. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition will always command a higher price than one that's been heavily worn or damaged. That's why it's important to keep your collection in top shape. If you have a rare, error-filled quarter in great condition, you've got a real winner on your hands. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate just how fascinating the world of coins really is. Collecting coins is about more than just holding onto currency. It's about preserving pieces of history. Coins like this Maryland quarter from 2000 represent a time when the U.S. Mint was working to celebrate the unique qualities of each state. And who knows? The next coin you find might just be the one that turns your collection into something truly valuable. So, whether you're new to the world of numismatics or a seasoned collector, always keep an eye out for those little details. Minting errors, design variations, and coins in excellent condition are what can turn a simple quarter into a goldmine. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins like the Maryland quarter, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future discoveries. Top 2, we're diving deep into a coin that might just be sitting in your collection right now, waiting to make you a fortune. We're talking about the 1999 Connecticut quarter dollar, part of the famous 50-state quarters program. At first glance, this coin may seem like just another state quarter. But if you take a closer look, you'll find that it holds some surprising secrets that make it much more valuable than its original face value of just 25 cents. So, grab a seat and get ready, because what we're about to uncover might just change how you look at your change jar forever. Let's start with a little history. In 1999, the U.S. Mint released a series of quarters to honor each of the 50 states, one by one. The Connecticut quarter was the fifth in the series, and it features an iconic design. On the reverse, we see the image of a branch of the charter oak tree, an important historical symbol in Connecticut. The charter oak is tied to the state's history because, in 1687, the royal governor of the colony tried to seize the colony's charter, but it was hidden in the tree, effectively saving it from destruction. This tree represents freedom, resilience, and pride in Connecticut's role in American history. At first glance, this quarter looks like many other state quarters that were produced around the same time. But here's where things get interesting. Although millions of these quarters were minted, a small number of them were struck with an extremely rare error, and that's what makes the 1999 Connecticut quarter so special. The error we're talking about is known as the double die obverse error. This type of error occurs during the minting process when a coin is struck more than once, leading to a misalignment of the design. In this case, the doubling is particularly noticeable in the letters and numbers on the obverse side of the coin, the front side where George Washington's portrait is displayed. You might notice some slight double images in the letters of the word Liberty or the date, 1999, which indicates that the coin was struck twice in quick succession. This kind of error is rare and highly collectible. Now, let's talk about the value. How much could this rare Connecticut quarter with the double die obverse error be worth? Well, depending on the condition, this coin can fetch a staggering $64,000. Yes, you heard that right, $64,000. That's a huge jump from the mere 25 cents it was originally worth. But it's not just the error that makes this coin valuable, it's also the condition. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition with minimal wear are always more valuable than those that have been heavily used in circulation. So how can you tell if you have one of these valuable error coins? The key is to look for the telltale signs of doubling on the obverse. If you see any signs of the letters or numbers being doubled or out of alignment, you might have an error coin in your hands. Remember, though, this error is not easy to spot unless you know exactly what you're looking for. That's why it's always a good idea to carefully inspect your quarters, especially if you've got a jar full of them from the late 90s. Another thing to keep in mind is the rarity of this error. While it's not as common as some of the other minting errors, the 1999 Connecticut double die obverse error is certainly not impossible to find. And that's exactly what makes it so desirable to collectors. Error coins like this are highly sought after because they are unique, and there's always a high demand for them in the marketplace. The fact that this particular quarter was part of the iconic 50-state quarters program only adds to its appeal. As a collector, you know that value is not just about the condition of the coin. It's about the story behind it, the history, the rarity, and the unexpected twists that make it special. In the case of the 1999 Connecticut quarter, it's a perfect storm of all those elements coming together. Not only does it represent an important part of American history, but it also carries a minting error that makes it incredibly rare and valuable. So, if you happen to own one of these coins, make sure to protect it carefully. It could be worth $64,000. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to appreciate the incredible world of coin collecting. Every coin has a story to tell, and sometimes that story is hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, always keep an eye out for those little details. You never know when you'll come across a coin that's not just a piece of history, but a valuable treasure waiting to be discovered. Top 3, we're shining the spotlight on a truly remarkable coin that might just be sitting in your collection right now. You've seen state quarters before, but today we're talking about a very special one, the 1999 Delaware quarter dollar. At first glance, the Delaware quarter might look like another regular coin from the famous 50 state quarters program. But if you take a closer look, you might just have an amazing treasure hiding right in front of you. This coin is not just any piece of currency, it's a rare and valuable collector's item, and it could be worth far more than the 25 cents it was originally minted for. In fact, this little quarter could be worth a whopping $66,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $66,000, so, what makes this coin so special, and why could it fetch such a high price? Let's take a deep dive into the history, the rarity, and the era that makes this coin one of the most sought-after treasures in the world of numismatics. The 1999 Delaware quarter was the first coin to be released in the 50-state quarter series. This series, which was launched to honor each of the 50 states, quickly became one of the most popular coin programs in history. The Delaware quarter features an image of Caesar Rodney, a hero from Delaware's Revolutionary War history. Caesar Rodney famously made a midnight ride to Philadelphia in 1776 to cast the deciding vote for Delaware in favor of American independence. This historic moment is captured beautifully on the reverse side of the coin, with Caesar Rodney riding horseback, his face determined as he heads toward Philadelphia. This coin's historical significance and beautiful design make it a must-have for any serious collector. But there's more to it than just the design. While millions of these quarters were minted, a small number of them have something that sets them apart, a minting error that makes them incredibly valuable. We're talking about the spitting horse error. The spitting horse error occurs on the Delaware quarter when there is a die clash during the minting process. As a result, a small line of metal appears near the horse's mouth, giving the illusion that the horse is spitting. This error is extremely rare and makes the coin one of the most highly sought-after pieces among collectors. It's a small detail, but that's what makes it so intriguing. Error coins are always in demand because they are unique, there's no other coin exactly like them. And in this case, the spitting horse error turns a regular quarter into a treasure. Finding a Delaware quarter with this error is no easy task. Most of the coins minted in 1999 were released into circulation, which means that many have been worn down or damaged over time. But if you manage to find one of these coins in pristine condition, especially with the spitting horse error, you could be looking at a valuable collector's item that could be worth $66,000. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if you have one of these error coins in your collection? It's actually not too difficult once you know what to look for. The key is to examine the area near the horse's mouth on the reverse side of the coin. If you see a small line or raised ridge near the horse's mouth that resembles a spit, congratulations, you might have a spitting horse quarter on your hands. It's important to note that the condition of the coin also plays a huge role in its value. A coin that has been well preserved, with sharp details and no wear or scratches, will always be worth more than a coin that's been heavily circulated. So, if you happen to have a Delaware quarter in excellent condition, especially with the rare error, you might just have a goldmine in your pocket. The appeal of error coins is clear, they're unique, they're rare, and they tell a story. For coin collectors, finding one of these rare pieces feels like unearthing a lost treasure. The Delaware spitting horse quarter is not just a beautiful piece of history, it's also a highly valuable coin that could significantly increase the value of your collection. So, how do you protect your coins and ensure that they maintain their value? First and foremost, handle them with care. Make sure to store them in a safe, dry place, away from the elements, and consider getting them professionally graded. Coins that are graded in mint condition can often fetch much higher prices on the open market. And, of course, if you think you found a rare error coin, it's always a good idea to get it authenticated by a reputable professional to ensure its authenticity. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to appreciate the incredible world of coin collecting. Every coin has a story to tell, and sometimes, it's those little details, like a minting error or a unique design, that make a coin truly special. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, always keep your eyes peeled for those hidden treasures. The next time you find a quarter from 1999, you might just have a priceless piece of history in your hands, and there you have it, $66,000 for a single 1999 Delaware quarter with a spitting horse error. If that doesn't excite you as a coin lover, I don't know what will. Top 4, we're diving deep into a truly special coin that might just be sitting in your collection, waiting to make you a small fortune. Have you ever heard of the 2001 Kentucky quarter? If not, you're about to discover why this particular quarter is much more than just a regular coin, and why it could be worth more than you ever imagined. First, let's rewind to 2001. As part of the 50-state quarters program, the U.S. Mint released a quarter to represent each state. The Kentucky quarter, issued that year, is the 16th coin in this iconic series. It features the thoroughbred horse, a symbol of Kentucky's world-famous horse racing industry, and a racecourse, symbolizing the state's rich history of breeding and racing some of the fastest, most majestic horses in the world. The design showcases Kentucky's role as a horse racing capital, making this coin not just a piece of currency, but a tribute to the state's proud heritage. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While this quarter might seem like just another state coin at first glance, there's a significant factor that makes this one worth your attention: rarity. Most of the 2001 Kentucky quarters were produced in large numbers, but as with many coins, the real value lies in those few special, unique examples that stand out due to minting errors. These errors are what make a simple quarter like the Kentucky coin far more valuable than anyone could expect. So, what's the error we're talking about here? One of the most highly sought after and rare errors associated with the 2001 Kentucky quarter is the double die error. This occurs when a coin is struck more than once during the minting process, causing a noticeable doubling effect in the design. When this happens, you'll see the image on the coin appear to be doubled in certain areas, especially in the lettering or other fine details. On the 2001 Kentucky quarter, the doubling is often most visible in the inscriptions on the obverse side, where the words Kentucky or E pluribus unum might appear slightly misaligned or duplicated. This subtle flaw is highly coveted by collectors because it creates a coin that's truly one of a kind. There's no other coin like it in circulation. Finding a Kentucky quarter with this double die error can be like discovering a hidden treasure. It's rare, it's unique, and it could be worth far more than the typical quarter you might find in your pocket. But here's the best part: if you manage to find a 2001 Kentucky quarter with this double die error, you could be sitting on a coin worth $53,000. Yes, you heard that right, $53,000 for a single quarter. Now, imagine finding that in your change or in a jar of old coins you've had lying around. That would definitely make your day, but how do you know if you've got one of these special error coins? It's all about the details. When looking at your Kentucky quarter, closely examine the inscriptions and design details. If you notice that the text or elements of the design appear to be doubled, that's the first sign you might have a valuable error coin. Take a magnifying glass or a loupe and inspect it carefully. Pay special attention to the letters in Kentucky or E pluribus unum. If they seem unusually blurry, off-center, or doubled, then you're in luck. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin, because this plays a huge role in how much your Kentucky quarter could be worth. If your quarter has been sitting in circulation for years and shows signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration, it might not fetch top dollar. Coins in pristine condition, those that are almost uncirculated, are the ones that fetch the highest prices. So, if you've got one of these rare double die error coins and it's still in excellent condition, you've got a real gem on your hands. You see, error coins like these aren't just fascinating because of the mistakes made during production, they're also special because they're limited. There are only a small number of these double die Kentucky quarters in existence, which means that if you happen to own one, you've got a rarity that other collectors would love to get their hands on. Coins like the 2001 Kentucky quarter with a double die error highlight why coin collecting is such an exciting hobby. It's not just about holding onto something old, it's about uncovering hidden value and discovering pieces of history that hold more than just sentimental worth. The world of coin collecting is filled with treasures waiting to be found, and it's all about knowing what to look for. So, whether you're a longtime collector or just getting started, always keep an eye out for those special details. Minting errors, like the double die on the 2001 Kentucky quarter, can turn an everyday coin into a valuable investment. And, remember, the next time you look through your spare change or dig through a box of old coins, you might just find a piece of history that could be worth thousands of dollars. Top 5, we're talking about the 2008 Arizona quarter dollar, a coin that might seem simple at first glance but has some hidden potential to make you a lot of money. Trust me, this is a coin you definitely want to know about. So, let's start with the basics. The Arizona quarter was released in 2008 as part of the U.S. Mint's 50 State Quarters program. This program, as you probably know, was launched to honor each of the 50 states with a unique quarter design, and Arizona's coin is no exception. The design features a saguaro cactus and a desert landscape, iconic symbols of Arizona's natural beauty and desert terrain. But while this coin represents the stunning landscapes of the Grand Canyon state, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. At first glance, the Arizona quarter may seem like just another state coin, especially since millions were minted and released into circulation. However, there's something about this particular coin that makes it stand out among other state quarters. What sets the 2008 Arizona quarter apart is its rarity and the errors that make it highly sought after by collectors. One of the main reasons this quarter has become so valuable is due to a very specific minting error. The coin we're talking about today is one of the few with an extra cactus branch, a slight but important design flaw. In certain cases, the branch of the saguaro cactus was struck multiple times, causing a double image or extra branch to appear in the design. This small error is incredibly rare, and it's what makes these Arizona quarters so valuable. Now, I know what you might be thinking: how much could a little error like this really be worth? Well, the answer is more than you might expect. Because of the scarcity of these error coins and their appeal to collectors who love hunting down rare finds, a 2008 Arizona quarter with the extra cactus branch could be worth an incredible $46,000. Yes, you heard that right. $46,000 for a single quarter. Now, I know what you're probably asking: how can you tell if you have one of these rare error coins? Great question. The key to spotting this error is to closely examine the design on the reverse side of the quarter, where the saguaro cactus appears. Look for an extra cactus branch or overlapping lines near the base of the cactus. If you notice this slight flaw, then you may just have one of the rare error coins that could fetch a small fortune. It's important to remember, though, that not every 2008 Arizona quarter will have this error. Most of them were minted and distributed without any issues, which is why finding one with the extra cactus branch is such a treasure hunt. But if you're lucky enough to stumble upon one, you could be holding onto something worth a lot more than the usual quarter. As with any rare coin, condition is key when determining its value. If the quarter is in mint or near mint condition, with no major scratches, discoloration, or wear and tear, it will be worth far more than a coin that has been circulated and damaged. So, if you have a well-preserved Arizona quarter and you spot that extra cactus branch error, make sure to hold onto it and consider getting it professionally graded by a numismatist. Coins that are graded in excellent condition can command much higher prices in the market, but wait, there's more. While the extra cactus branch error is the most well-known for this quarter, there are other subtle variations and minting issues that can make this coin more valuable. Some Arizona quarters were struck with mismatched dies, which led to slight variations in the design or imperfect strikes. These coins are also highly prized by collectors who are on the lookout for unique, one-of-a-kind pieces to add to their collections. If you happen to have any Arizona quarters in your possession, now is the time to carefully examine them. The 2008 Arizona quarter is a perfect example of why coin collecting is such an exciting and rewarding hobby. With just a little knowledge and some careful inspection, you could uncover a rare gem hiding in plain sight. When you think about it, this is what makes coin collecting so fun. It's not just about gathering old coins, it's about finding those hidden treasures, those rare mistakes that make a coin stand out from the rest. And when it comes to the 2008 Arizona quarter, the extra cactus branch error is one of those little quirks that make it a truly valuable collectible. So, if you've got one of these rare quarters lying around, or if you're out on a hunt for new additions to your collection, keep an eye out for the extra cactus branch. And remember, if you find one, it could be worth $46,000. That's right, $46,000 for a single quarter. Can you imagine finding something like that in your pocket change? Top 6, we have a real treat for you. We're diving into a coin that may be sitting right under your nose, but you might not realize just how much it's worth. That's right, I'm talking about the 2000 Virginia quarter, a coin that may look simple at first, but has the potential to make you a small fortune if you know what to look for. Let's take a step back in time. The Virginia quarter was issued in 2000 as part of the U.S. Mint's iconic 50-state quarters program, which released a unique quarter for each state to honor its history and heritage. Virginia's quarter features a Statue of Liberty, symbolizing liberty and freedom, and a sailing ship, which represents the state's important maritime history and role in early American exploration. It's a beautifully designed coin that captures the essence of the state's legacy. Now, most of the 2000 Virginia quarters were produced in large numbers and circulated widely, but here's the catch: rarity is what makes this coin stand out. Like many coins from the 50-state quarters program, some of the Virginia quarters contain minting errors that could make them worth far more than their face value. And I'm not just talking about a little wear and tear, I'm talking about rare, collector-worthy mistakes that make some of these quarters incredibly valuable. One of the most sought-after errors found in the 2000 Virginia quarter is the wide AM error. If you're wondering what that means, let me break it down for you. Normally, the letters AM in America on the reverse side of the coin are positioned relatively close together. But in the case of the wide AM error, the spacing between the A and the M is wider than usual, creating a distinctive and noticeable difference. Why does this matter? Because coins with this type of error are extremely rare. In fact, very few 2000 Virginia quarters were minted with this wide spacing between the A and M, which makes it a true gem for coin collectors. The wide AM error is highly sought after because it's a clear mistake in the production process, and collectors love to hunt for these unique pieces. A coin that contains a minting error like this is considered a flaw, but it's the kind of flaw that makes the coin valuable, because it's one of a kind. But it doesn't end there. There are also varieties of the Virginia quarter that have even more subtle errors. Some of these errors involve the design itself, such as misaligned dies, where parts of the design are struck off-center or fail to properly align during the minting process. These types of coins are incredibly rare, and collectors will pay big money for them because they represent pieces of history that are unlike anything else. The more misaligned or off-center the strike is, the more valuable the coin becomes. It's these errors and variations that make the 2000 Virginia quarter so intriguing to coin collectors. And if you happen to have one of these error coins in your collection, it could be worth much more than you might expect. But how much, you ask? Well, here's where it gets exciting: $54,000. Yes, you heard that right. If you have a 2000 Virginia quarter with the wide AM error, it could be worth $54,000. That's not just pocket change, that's a serious windfall from something as small as a quarter. Now, I know what you're thinking: how can you tell if your quarter is worth this much? Great question. The first thing you need to do is carefully examine the reverse side of the coin. Pay attention to the spacing between the A and M in America. If you notice that the spacing between these two letters is noticeably wider than usual, you may have one of the coveted wide AM error coins. Also, take a good look at the other details, such as the alignment of the design. Any misaligned dies or noticeable flaws can increase the coin's value significantly. But here's the thing: not every Virginia quarter has these errors. Most of them were minted without any significant issues, which is why the ones with the wide AM error are considered rare. So, if you find one of these rare varieties, it's worth getting it professionally graded by a coin expert. Having your coin graded will confirm whether it's the wide AM error, and once you have that certification, you'll know you've got something truly special on your hands. One more thing to keep in mind is the condition of the coin. The better the condition, the more it could be worth. If your 2000 Virginia quarter is in pristine, uncirculated condition, it's far more valuable than one that's been worn down through years of circulation. The cleaner and sharper the design, the higher the value. That's why collectors are always on the lookout for coins in mint or near mint condition. In the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest details can lead to the biggest rewards. Whether it's a wide AM error or a misaligned die, these imperfections are what make certain coins stand out from the rest. And when it comes to the 2000 Virginia quarter, these unique characteristics are what make it so desirable among collectors. So, if you happen to have a 2000 Virginia quarter sitting in your collection, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, and if you spot that wide AM error or any other minting flaws, you could be holding onto a coin worth a small fortune. Top 7 and last expensive coin, we're diving into something truly special, the 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter dollar. You might have seen this coin circulating or heard about it in passing, but what you don't know could make you a lot of money. Trust me, you're going to want to pay close attention, because this is one rare coin that could be worth a lot more than you expect. Let's start by giving you some context. The 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter is part of the American The Beautiful Quarters program. This series was created to honor U.S. national parks and other historical sites. The Marsh-Billing Rockefeller National Historical Park, located in Vermont, was chosen to represent the state of Vermont in the 2020 issue. The design on this quarter depicts a beautiful view of the park, including an image of the historic Rockefeller Mansion and the rolling hills of Vermont in the background. It's a stunning coin, and if you haven't yet had the chance to see it up close, it's definitely worth a look, but here's where it gets interesting. While most of these coins were made in the usual fashion, there are some very specific errors that have turned the 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter into a highly coveted item among collectors. Now, when you hear the word error, you probably think of something small, maybe a slight mistake in the design or a minor misalignment. But the 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter contains an error that's much more rare and significant than that. One of the main things that has made this coin so valuable is its mintage error, specifically a die crack. Die cracks happen when the dies used to stamp out the coin's design develop a crack, which gets transferred onto the coin itself. This may sound like a small flaw, but to collectors, it's a treasure. The 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter with a die crack can sometimes show this flaw on the obverse or reverse, often creating a distinctive, noticeable line across the design. These errors are rare, and as a result, they're highly prized among collectors who are on the lookout for coins with unique features that make them stand out from the rest. Another error that has been reported with this coin involves a mismatch in the die alignment, causing parts of the design to be misaligned or slightly off-center. When this happens, the result is a coin that looks different from the rest, which, as you can imagine, makes it incredibly attractive to collectors. Coins with misaligned dies are considered to be mistakes in the minting process, and as such, they can often be sold for a premium, but don't think it stops there. There are other variations of this coin that could increase its value. Some of the 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarters have a very subtle double strike error, meaning the coin was struck by the press twice, resulting in two overlapping images on the coin. This mistake makes the coin even rarer and more valuable because it's an example of something that wasn't intended during the minting process, and to collectors, that's a big deal. Now that we know about the potential errors that can make this quarter stand out, let's talk about what it's worth. You might think a quarter from 2020 is worth, well, just a quarter. After all, it's relatively new, right? But here's the thing, a 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter with one of these errors, especially the die crack or misaligned die, could fetch a jaw-dropping $44,000. That's right, $44,000 for a coin that's no more than 5 years old. So how do you know if your 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter could be worth that kind of money? The first thing to do is take a close look at the coin's design. If you notice any cracks, especially in the image of the mansion or across the quarter, you might be looking at one of the rare error coins. Also, examine the alignment of the design. If you spot any signs of a misalignment or double strike, you're holding onto a highly valuable piece of numismatic history. Remember, condition matters too. A coin that's been well kept in mint condition will always fetch a higher price than one that's been circulated or damaged. So if you find one of these error coins, make sure to store it carefully to preserve its value. In fact, if you have one of these coins in pristine, uncirculated condition, it's even more likely to command top dollar. Now, I know many of you might be wondering, how do you go about selling one of these rare coins? The best way to go about it is to get the coin professionally graded by a trusted numismatist. A grade will not only authenticate your coin but also provide you with a clear indication of its value based on its condition and rarity. When you have a coin graded, it makes the entire process of selling and purchasing much smoother, and it ensures that you'll get the best possible price. Coin collecting is all about finding these hidden treasures, those rare and valuable pieces that have the potential to turn your collection into something far more lucrative. And when it comes to the 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter, these errors and unique features are exactly what makes it so special. So, if you're out hunting for rare coins, or if you have a 2020 Marsh-Billing Rockefeller quarter sitting in your collection, take the time to carefully examine it. You could be holding onto a coin that's worth $44,000. That's right, $44,000 for a single quarter. Not bad for something you might have just tossed into your pocket without a second thought, right? Thanks for joining me today. If you want to learn more about rare and valuable coins and uncover more hidden treasures, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an exciting discovery. Until next time, happy collecting.